So, hello guys, my name is Melbay Guy, and in today's session, we will be doing the last session of this week sessions. But this session is broken down into pieces, some sub sessions. So we are going to do a couple of sessions under the main session of the week. So in this session, we are going to learn how to write a mini application, program or software that calculates the area of a given rectangle. So if you are given the length and breadth of a rectangle, your software should be able to calculate the area. So that's what we want to work on. So we visited this website, mathonlymath.com. And in this website, on this website, rather, we have some questions. So here it's saying that find the area of a rectangle of length 70A, breadth 20, and the answer is 20. We have a second question here with length 12 and breadth 9, and we have the answer. And we have this one, we have the answer. So what we want to do is we want to be able to calculate sorry, what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to want to create a software that can calculate the area of a rectangle given the length and the breadth we should be able to calculate. So that's the software we'll be working on in this session. So how do we go about it? We've learned so much about programming since the beginning to this stage, so we should be able to do that. So let's see how we're gonna go about it. So first of all, when you are given a problem, anytime you are being faced to write a program or solve, sorry, anytime you're being faced to write a program or write a software that solves a problem, it means there's a problem. We don't just wake up and start writing softwares or programs. There have been a problem that have been discovered, and you are trying to write a software to solve the problem. So you are trying to program. And we said that, the computer is dumb. It doesn't know how to do anything. But if you teach it how to do something, it can do it faster than us. So the computer can help us solve our problems, but it doesn't know how to do that. So we've discovered the problem, and the problem is calculating the area of rectangles. And we know how to calculate area of rectangles. We know that if we multiply the length, length and length and the breadth, if we multiply them, we are going to get the area of the rectangle. We know this, but we want the computer to assist us with that. We don't want to do the dirty work. We want the computer to just give us the answer as quick as possible. So we want the computer to handle the operations. So all we want to do is we want to give the computer the data, the values, and the computer should handle the working of it and give us the result. So that's what we want to do. So where do we actually start? So we know we have to build a software that calculates area of a rectangle. And after we build a software, the software should be able to answer this question. The software should be able to answer this question. It should be able to answer this question, should be able to answer this question, and every question on like I said I was reading every question on area. All right. So where do we start from? So anytime you are faced with a problem, we don't just jump. As a programmer, you don't just jump and start writing programs. First, you have to understand the problem. You get it? You have to know how to solve it before you can teach the computer how it can help you solve. Because the computer is going to solve the problem according to how you direct it to solve it. So if you yourself don't know how to solve the problem, then how would you teach the computer how to do that? How to solve it? So, sorry. So first of all, we need to we need to understand the problem. So what's the problem? The problem is we need something that can help us to calculate area of a rectangle. We want a computer to help us calculate the area of a rectangle. You get it? That's the problem. We don't want to do the dirty work. We just want something to help us calculate it. So that's the problem. So you need to understand the problem. What I mean by understanding the problem, you need to know how to solve it personally. So because you are going to build a software, you're going to teach the computer how to calculate the area of a rectangle. So you have to know, you the programmer must know how to solve the problem, how to calculate area of rectangle before you can teach that. So you need to understand the problem and you need to know how the solution should be like. You get to understand the problem. You should know the solution. It's good. So you need to understand the problem. You need to know the type of problem you are dealing with. You need to know how to solve it before you can teach the computer. So let's say you understand the problem. You know the problem is all about building building a tool that can help us calculate the area of a rectangle. And the solution here should be, you should know how to solve it personally, how to calculate area of a rectangle. So you should know that, okay, to calculate okay, I'm sorry. I think we were interrupted. It's everything went off. I don't know. So let's continue. So we were saying that we want to write an application that, or a software that can help us calculate the area of a rectangle. And we're saying that before you start, you don't just start, you need to understand the problem. So you need to understand what you want to build. You get it? You need to understand the software you are trying to build. And you need to know the solution. Let's say if I want to build, the problem is building a software or a tool that can calculate area. The solution here can be, okay, you have to I have to know how to calculate area personally. So you, the programmer, have to know how to calculate area personally before you can teach the computer how to do it. So that's how it works. So you, the programmer, must know that, okay, to find the area of a rectangle, I need to multiply the length and the breadth to find the area of a rectangle. And that's it. So once you know that, so you know the problem, you know the solution. So the next thing is you have to teach the computer how to do it or begin with your software. But that one too, you need to know something, requirements. You have to know what is required of your software, or you have to know how your software will behave. So how is our software going to behave? The software that will calculate the area of a rectangle. How is it going to behave? First of all, it will take input from users. Input from users. It will evaluate it, evaluate or process the inputs. And third, it will display the result or answer to the user of the software. So we first have to understand what we want to build, the problem we want to solve, and we have to know how to solve it. We need to understand, we have to have some solution in mind. And our software, we have to know the requirements of our software. We need to know the features of our software. We need to know how our software will behave. So we can't just jump in and start building software. You need to know what your software will do or the things that your software will require. So the software that we're going to build to solve our problem will take input from users. It is going to evaluate, after taking the input from users, it will evaluate or process the input. You get it? So evaluate or calculate it, or perform operations on the inputs. Evaluate, process, evaluate, perform operation, process or perform operation on the input. That's great. Evaluate, process or perform operations on the inputs, whatever the user entered. And after we are done performing the operation or processing it, then we'll display the results to the user. So that's how the software will behave. So you need to have that idea. So once you have this, you can just jump into it. So let's begin. First, we know we need to take input from users. First we know that we are building what we are building. So let's say the problem, let's define our problem here. Building building area of a rectangle calculator. So you can define the problem anyhow you like. You get it. The problem will show you what you want to do. And let's say solution, the solution that we have. So solution is, you know how to, actually solve the problem personally before you start teaching the computer how to, because programming is all about directing the computer on how to solve the problem. So you have to know the solution, how it is being done before you can direct the computer that, okay, do this, do that to solve the problem. So the solution, at the solution session, we know that to find area, we need to use the formula length time. So at the solution session, we say that, okay, to find area, to find area, we need to just multiply the length of the rectangle and length and breadth of the rectangle. So this one is not a standard way of, building or approaching a software. This is something you can start with as you are beginning. You get it? So this is how you can start thinking. Later, you start thinking bigger than this. So at the start, you need to start thinking like this to be able to build simple programs. Later, the idea changes. You get it? So this one is general. So first, you need to know the problem. We are building this. And the solution, personally, you need to know how it's being solved. So how do we solve area? To find area, we need to multiply the length and the breadth of the rectangle. And that's how we find the area. So we know how to solve it personally. So now we have to teach the computer how to do it. So we go to the requirements. We go to the requirements, what our software needs, how our software will behave. So first, we know that we have to do what? Take input from the user. So we need to take input from the user. So how do we take the input? We need prompts. So here, I'm trying to write the program here. Okay. So let's come down. So requirements. Okay, let's say there's a requirement here so that I don't interfere. So the requirements, we know we have to do what? We need to take input from the user. The requirement, we know that we have to take input from the user. We need to evaluate. So the software should be able to take input from the user, and the software should be able to process or perform operation on the input or evaluate the input, and the software should be able to display the result to the user. So this basic thing, that's what our software will be doing. So the next thing we'll be doing here is now we are going to start writing the software. So how do we start writing the software? Let me add a line here to separate the guys. So we need to start writing the program. So we know that we have to take input from users. Which type of input should we take from the users? We need to take the length and the breadth, because to find the area, we need to multiply the length and breadth. So meaning the user must supply the length and breadth for us so that we can perform the operation on it. So we need to take input from the user. So, and I told you to take input from the user, you need to reserve a memory space before you can take input from the user so that you will be able to access the whatever the user entered later. So we create three variables. Let's create a variable A. Let's create another variable B. Let's create another variable C. So we've created three variables here. So we've collected three memory from the computer. And so here, okay, let's rename it. So this variable, rename it length, variable length, and let's name this the second variable. So this is the name of the variable or the name of the memory. It can be a letter or it can be a word. It can be so many things, but there are rules. If you've gone through the lessons, I've explained it before. So we can make a length, then we can rename this variable breadth. Then we can rename this variable area. Okay, so we have 3 memory area there. So we said we have to take inputs from users. So to take inputs, we need memory area to store them. So first we want to take the length from the user. So because our software would take length from the user, take input from users. So the inputs are length and breadth. So always you have to know how to define your problem and your solution so that when you're programming, you know what you're doing next. You don't just do anything. So we want to take inputs from a user and store it inside A. There's no memory called A. The memory is called length rather. So prompt is a command we use to take input from users. And we need to pass information inside the prompt to guide the user on what to enter. So enter the length of rectangle. We want to be precise. So we write a statement that enter the length of a rectangle. So we take the input from the user and we store it inside the length memory or the length variable. Then we come down here. We do the same thing because we need to take 2 inputs. We need to take the length and the breadth. So let's take the breadth. So let's take the breadth, breadth. So enter the breadth of the breadth of rectangle. So here we declare our variables because we want to take input from users. That's why we declared variables. So we declare 2 variables, length and variable breadth. So variables are just memory area in the computer. We've already done so much about variables. So if you don't understand variables, you need to just quit learning programming because we've done so much practice on it. So you just have to go and watch the previous sessions to understand. We've done everything we are doing here, but I'm just explaining it like you've not done it. So we are taking input here from the user and we are storing it in a variable called length, and we are taking input from here to store it here. So now we've solved the problem here. Take input from users because that's how we want our software to behave. The software should take input from the user. And the second thing we want the software to do is evaluate, process, or perform operation on the inputs. So a user will enter a length of maybe 2 and a breadth of 5. So we need to perform operation on it. You get it? Or we need to process the input. How do we do that? So one trick that we use is sometimes you just need a formula to know how to, process the user input. So if I know the formula, what's the formula for finding area of a rectangle? The formula for finding area of a rectangle is what? Length times breadth. So length times breadth is an expression. So I just have to know how to represent this expression in my program. So most times, we just have to know the formula. You just have to know the formula and know how to interpret the formula in our program. And that's all. So if we can interpret the formula in our program, we are just done. We can process it to process the data for us. So what do we need? We need what's the formula? So sometimes we just ask what's the formula, or so formula is length times breadth. So length, no, this should be capital L, and the B2 should be capital here. So here, over here, what are we doing? We know that the formula for finding area is length times breadth, or to find area of a rectangle, you need to multiply the length and the breadth. So that's what we are doing here. We are multiplying the length and the breadth. You get it? So what is inside the length? What is the length? The length is the value the user entered. And what is the breadth? The breadth is the value the user entered to. You get it? So the user will enter the length and the user will enter the breadth. And we will come down here and we, the programmers, will multiply the length and the breadth. And the result we'll get is the area of a rectangle. So it's simple like that. So we have to multiply whatever the user entered into this variable and multiply by whatever the user entered into this variable. So that's what we've done here. And we need to store this result inside another variable called area because we've declared 3 variables. We have this variable here. So we are multiplying this variable, the content, the value inside this variable by this guy, the content inside this variable. And we are storing the result inside this memory or this variable memory called area. So there's a memory called area here, and we are storing the results of this expression. So I told you there's an expression. So if you've been following up to this stage, you know that there's an expression. And you know expressions are evaluated by the computer and it will give us some results. So the result that the computer will give to us, we will store it inside this area. So evaluate process or perform operation. Evaluate process or perform operation on the input. The second part, that's what we've done here. So first we took input from the user, the length and the breadth. And the second, we are processing the input, or we are performing operation on the input, or we are evaluating it. So how are we doing this? Why did we do it length and breadth? Because to find area, you need to multiply the value, the length and the breadth. That's why we also do the same thing here. So most times, it's all about being able to, represent the formula here, and that's all, and it will solve the problem. So the result will be stored inside area, and the next command we want is alerts. So we already learned that alert is used to display something to the user. So in our case, we want to use it to display the contents of the memory area. So we want to use it to display the contents of this variable. So instead of using variable A, variable B, variable C, sometimes you can rename the variable to meet whatever program you're building. If I make this one A, it will still work. If I rename this variable to B and rename this variable to C, it will work, but it will be hard to understand what this program does. But right now, if I look at it, I know, oh, this program is a program that calculates, it solves the area of a rectangle, because I saw length, I saw breadth, and I said area is equal to, then you can easily tell. So let's copy this and give it to the computer and see if our software is ready. So we're gonna come to this guy. Let's come to this guy. So let's clear the screen first. First, let's refresh the page so that everything is gone. Then let's clear the screen for more space. So we are going to paste the codes here, the program we wrote. We want to paste it here. So by length, by breadth, then blah blah blah. Area is equal to length and breadth. Well, let's run it and see if there's no problem. So we are having enter the length of a rectangle. This guy has executed. So let's see the length is 3, and enter the breadth of a rectangle, and the breadth is if the length is 3, let's say the breadth is 1. So what will be the answer? What will be the area? Something went wrong. Alert didn't work. What went wrong? Sometimes we get errors when we are programming. That's what makes programmers mad, because come on, you start getting errors and you won't be able to identify where it's from. And before you even identify where the error is from, you are screwed. Oh, sorry. I know why we had an error. The alerts, it shouldn't be capital letter, it should be small letter. Oh, error top of error. So let's bring it back. So the alert has to be a small letter. Yeah, like that. You get it? Yeah. So now it will work. So enter the length of a rectangle. Let's say 5, and enter the breadth. Enter the breadth of the rectangle. Let's say 3. So 5 times 3 is what? Because we get what? 15. So the area of the rectangle is what? 15. Why is it 15? Because the user entered 5 inside the length and 3 inside the breadth. And inside this part of the program, we multiply the length and the breadth, and we store the results inside the area, and we display the area. So this is the area over here. So as simple as that, that's how we build a software that you can add so much information to it. I can extend them. I don't want to extend it. It's not important now. So That's that for here. So we can try different one. Let's try it again. Okay, length is 6 and breadth is 2. And we get what? 12. Then we can add the units, 12 centimeters squared or blah blah blah. So now our software is ready. So we want to use it to solve the problems inside here, inside on this page. So let's go up. I'm coming. So let's solve this problem. So we have the question one. Question one, we have it said find the area of a rectangle of length 78 and length 26. So the length is 28 and the breadth is 26. So let's try it. Let's run it in our program. So the length is 78. So enter the length of the rectangle. We wrote 78. Enter the breadth of the rectangle is 26, if I remember. And we had 20, 28. Let's go and check whether it's correct. So when they solve it, so the length is 78, the breadth is 26, length times breadth. So what did we get? 2028. So you can see here, 2028. So we had it correct. Let's try it again. Let's try the second question. Let me clear the screen. Let me run my application again. Let's see if we can solve something. So what do we have here? The question 2. Let's go to question 2. Find the area of a rectangle whose length is 12 and breadth is 9. Length is 12, breadth is 9. So enter the length. Length is 12 and enter the breadth. The breadth is 9. So let's see if we get correct. So we got 108. 108. Let's confirm. So length is 12, breadth is 9, and the answer is what? 108 centimeters squared. So you see our software is working. Now we've built a software that can calculate area of a rectangle, given the length and given the breadth. So let's do this last one. Length is 43 and breadth is 13. So length is 43. Length is 43 and breadth is 14. 602. Let's see if they had 602. Hey, length is 43 and breadth is 13. Oh, wait. Let me do it again. I think I made it. Length is 43 and breadth is what? Got it. Length is 43. Breadth is 13. Breadth is 13. 559. What's wrong? 559. Yeah, that's the answer. I was sleeping. I was looking at somewhere else. So 559. That's the answer. 559. So we've been able to build a mini program. We've been able to build a mini program or a mini application or software that calculated the area of a rectangle. How did we do that? We went through some, we did some planning. So all this is planning. This is what we need, but we had to do planning. We first had to understand the problem, what they require from us, what we are required to do. And we knew the solution. We had to know the solution so that we can direct the computer. And we knew the requirements of our software. We knew what our software would do. So we knew our software would take input. We knew our software would process the input and our software would display the result. So here we expanded it a bit. So problem is the building of the calculator. The solution is to find area. We need to multiply. So the solution is, okay, multiplying the length and the breadth will give us the solution. Will help us to, find the area. Then the requirements of our software, we know that we have to take inputs, evaluate it, display the result, and we wrote a program. So we need to take inputs. So, and to take input, you need to declare your variable. So we declare variable, one variable length, variable breadth. And we took our input and stored it in length. We took our input, stored it in breadth. And we performed an operation on the variables, the value inside the length and the value inside the breadth. We multiplied them. After multiplying them, we store the value inside another variable or memory called area here. Then we display the area. So you can see the three parts. Take inputs, we've taken input, evaluate or process, we've evaluated or processed it, display the result, we've displayed the result. You get it. So we start small and we end big. So that's it for this session. The next session we'll try a different exercise.